Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and on my left, the lovely Luis Bundy. And we were going to have an interesting debate today, but Emmett is not well, so I want to take this opportunity to wish Emmett well, and we'll have our little discussion in the future. But in the meantime, Luis Bundy's with me, and we're at the Han Hotel in Ho Chi Minh City, and we did like some outer space episodes.
I know.
And now I just wanted to do a set in Vietnam, so it's a gorgeous set.
It's beautiful.
Just the scenery in the background, it's just gorgeous. And since we're in Ho Chi Minh City, I'm going to do that prelude in E minor by Chopin. I haven't done it in a while, but I think I can remember it. Isn't that a beautiful song?
Gorgeous. I love Chopin.
Me too. See if I can remember this. I like to put a little expression into it as much as I can.
You should. Such a gorgeous song. It is.
I always like the writings of Chopin as far as I know the etudes you can't really use like in a piano bar setting. They're just for technique.
Exactly.
But as far as the nocturnes, like this prelude I just did and so on, beautiful music.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
As I said before, I've used Chopin many times when I taught ballet,
Mm-hmm.
because the music is so amenable to the dance.
Let's have fun with Chopin. Yeah, here's I won't do the whole thing, but this is the waltz in, I think it's called the waltz in B minor, or the it's a prelude in B minor.
Okay.
I'm going to put a little intro here. I'm sorry, we did it again.
That's okay.
It's been a while since I've done this one. First part of that.
Nice.
That's from the Urtext version. This part that goes, it's a C natural note.
Mm-hmm.
Normally they use this note, but the Urtext version does that, and that's the version that Rubinstein did. So I adapted that.
Nice.
Instead
And I
of
did
the
do a ballet to
traditional.
that one.
Yeah. But all the Chopin works are just such beautiful works.
Absolutely.
I just haven't had time to really practice like I need to lately. I've got to get back into the swing of that. With that ABC pursuit, that's been taking a lot of my time.
Of course.
Because I have to sit in front of that computer like for hours and just send those proposals.
Right.
I have a list of every ABC station in the United States.
Wow.
Painstaking. Like one state's
my
got
God.
like 20.
I
I'm
know.
Like,
Yes. Yes.
and then you got like 49 of the states to go.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
the
I
bigger
mean-
states, bigger markets like New York, Chicago,
I know,
California, Houston.
especially
Yeah.
East Coast. I'm just dealing with the West right now. I'll get to the
Ah.
East Coast later.
Yeah.
But I'm determined to get that job if possible.
Good.
I want to, for the TV audience that doesn't know, I'm trying to get a job with ABC News doing the musical notes with Asaph stories. They're the Asaph stories.
Mhm.
Oh, speaking of that, you remember the top 10 I did for 2015 and
Mhm.
16?
Yeah.
Well, I have the whole, whole hour on both of those on different DVDs,
Mhm.
and Lori's going to feature both of those at the end of this month.
Oh.
On the 31st, she'll show the entire Asaph stories for 2015,
Nice.
and then a week or so later, she'll show the ones for 2016.
Nice.
So hopefully that might crack a door over the
Yeah.
ABC when Lori airs it, because they're all edited,
Mm-hmm.
and there'll be like a split second between each story.
Oh,
So
I
she's
see.
going to show all 10 of those
Wow.
in one segment,
Great.
and then a week later the next year.
Mhm.
So that'll be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Let's see if I can remember this one.
Ah, yes.
Isn't that pretty?
Oh, yes.
And we'll stop right
Oh,
there.
yeah. Well, waltz is the easiest to do a dance to, choreograph to.
But see, what's tricky about that one, it may not be technically quick, but your left hand is bouncing
Right.
past octaves.
Right.
You know, I used to get dizzy when I was first trying to put that together. It just took practice,
Mhm.
just doing it slow,
Mhm.
over and over,
There you go.
and not wearing my eyes out.
No kidding.
And there's this other songs that from Chopin I want to incorporate.
Good.
I'm going to spend this entire year working on the music of Chopin, so that
Good.
by the time the holiday comes, I'll be
Oh, yeah.
prepared,
Oh, yeah.
really prepared.
Mhm.
And there's another one. I haven't learned it, so I'm going to fake my way through. But it goes something like this. Let's see if I can remember it. You recognize it?
Mm-mm.
It's called the Nocturne in C sharp minor. It was used at the beginning of the film The Pianist with Adrian Brody.
Oh.
Remember that scene when he was playing over the radio, and this was the song. I've not learned. I'm just playing this
Mhm.
by ear. This part
Oh,
is the first
okay.
part. Let's see. It went something like this. You recognize
It's
it?
really pretty.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. So I'm gonna learn that too.
Nice.
I didn't know that I had the music to that at home, but it turns out I do.
Ah, good.
That was written posthumously, I think they call it,
Oh, okay.
after Chopin was gone,
Mhm.
and that came out.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so I've got a lot of work I need to prepare, just classical stuff.
Great.
So that's my goal too this year.
Mhm.
And getting back to ABC News, I've been sending, oh goodness, just sending those news stories out.
Good.
Because I've done hundreds of
Yeah,
stories
you have.
in the last 2.5 years.
Mhm.
And so now it's time to take it to the next level.
Yep.
And I won't mention the network on this show, but one of the networks turned me down and said they don't do happy stories.
They don't do happy stories.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. And the
Well-
other one wanted it condensed to 1 minute.
Oh,
I said no, thank you, because
No
you know,
way.
5 years from now, when I go to get another job, who's going to want 1 minute stories?
exactly.
I had some friends of mine advise me stay on course.
Yeah.
Just stay on course, and
Do what you know best.
yeah, because I want to be able to feature film footage
Sure.
and still
stills,
pictures as
yeah.
I'm narrating.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Nice.
I'll just painstakingly pursue that
Absolutely.
and see if I can make that happen.
Good.
And I think I told you my personal favorite is the story of Mark Goddard, the
Mhm.
actor on Lost in Space
Right.
that played Major Don West.
Mhm.
And I found some film footage of him very young playing Cully on the Johnny and Ringo cowboy show.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was lightning fast. And the footage I showed, he took on these two gunfighters in a cave. And they had this music, dun, 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 dun. And Mark Goddard pulls out this big rifle. He like lights into this one guy, and he flips over and he shoots the other guy.
Only on television.
I know.
And of course, the heroes always have to be lightning fast. Nobody's faster than Marshall Dillon. Nobody's faster than the Rifleman.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on.
Well, I think Johnny Ringo might be fast. I
But
saw
he
the
was a
intro to
hero.
that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was lightning fast too. And Mark Goddard's character, how he became deputy sheriff. Originally, he was angry young youth because he was really young in this picture. He looked like a teenager.
Oh.
He was really young, and he was ticked off at Johnny Ringo because he thought Johnny Ringo killed his father.
Oh.
So I'm here to get revenge.
Oh.
And Johnny Ringo's telling his girlfriend and all the other people, I sure hope I don't have to kill this young man because I don't want to kill him. Because Johnny Ringo was like way lightning quick.
Well, he has to be. He's a
But
hero.
Mark Goddard's character was quick, but Johnny Ringo was quicker,
Of
much
course.
quicker. You don't know that when you watch it. You're
Right.
gonna think Goddard's character is faster, right?
Right.
And then there's a showdown where, because he's a kid, he's like, Sheriff, you get out of here right now. I'm gonna kill you. And so Johnny Ringo goes and faces Mark Goddard's character, and there was somebody hiding behind a wagon that wanted to shoot Johnny Ringo.
Oh.
So if he had shot Ringo, it would have looked like Goddard did it.
Ah.
But Goddard notices the guy behind the wagon, so Goddard's character, when he draws, instead of aiming at Johnny Ringo, he shoots at the guy that was behind the wagon. But Johnny Ringo thinks that Goddard's character is shooting at him. So naturally, as quick as he is, he shoots Goddard and shoots the gun out of his hand after Goddard
Shot the other guy?
shoots the other guy.
Uh-huh.
And then when the other guy falls dead, Ringo realizes,
And he saved his life.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how Mark Goddard's character became the deputy sheriff.
My goodness.
And Ringo's like, look, I didn't kill your father. You know, they were
Right.
talking. Your father was doing such and such and
Right.
such and such.
Yeah.
And got himself killed.
Wow.
And you know how young kids will listen. He's like,
Sometimes.
hey kid, you're good. You're fast. I can use you on my service.
Mhm.
And that's how that was a pilot episode too, by the way. I happened to watch that before I did the story
Oh.
on Johnny Ringo as far as doing that story
I'll be darned.
on Mark Goddard.
Huh.
And that was the pilot.
Wow. Yeah, I'd seen Mark
And they
Goddard
were
in other
both
things.
lightning quick.
Well, they have to be. They're on television.
Yeah, but Johnny Ringo was just a tad bit faster.
Yeah. Well, he's a hero.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the
so-
star, the major star.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So they teamed up, and that's how come they were able to get law and order
Yeah,
in that town, because
invincible.
nobody could outshoot those two together.
Absolutely.
And so, like I mentioned, Goddard's character, Johnny Ringo, gets trapped in the cave explosion.
Mm.
So the bad guys are trying to make sure he don't come out of there. And that's when Mark Goddard goes into that cave to save his boss
I see.
and go after those two gunfighters. And I have to send it to you 'cause I got the clip, that scene. And he had this gun similar to Chuck Connor's a little bit, this like long rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guys had these little like 6-shooter guns.
Oh, my goodness.
And Mark Goddard laid into that first gunfighter so fast, he just like, and like I said, does the flip, shoots the second guy.
Oh, my goodness.
So I don't even think anybody will remember Johnny Ringo.
I don't even know if I've seen it or not. Was that in the 50s?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably early.
Yeah,
50s.
I was probably
In
watching
fact,
Lone
I
Ranger.
never even heard of Johnny Ringo.
Really?
I had never heard of that. It's just when I was looking up information on Mark Goddard, they mentioned that as a young man he was on a Western called Johnny Ringo.
Uh-huh.
And so out of curiosity, I looked it up. I found the pilot episode and I took time to watch it.
That's why, because I watched all the westerns. I watched Range Rider and Lone Ranger, Cisco Kid, Wild Bill Hickok, and, you know, I remember Johnny Yuma, the Rebel.
Yeah, but there was still a lot that I didn't know. And then there's like the Virginian.
I saw that. Yeah.
My parents used to watch the Virginian.
Yeah, I used to watch
Let's see
that.
if I can remember how to do it. Something like this. Something like
Yeah.
that. Made that up.
Yeah.
But anyway, anyway, yeah, my parents used to watch the Virginia.
Yeah, I did. And I remember the Warner Brothers shows. They had Lawman and Maverick.
Yeah.
And
What a young James Garner, wasn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
In fact, Maverick is still on MeTV.
That's right. I heard about
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
were re-showing that.
It is.
And we lost Mike Connors recently. Mannix.
Oh, Mannix is on
Yeah.
MeTV also.
See if I can pick it up. Let's see.
Ah, yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No chord. I'm not gonna do any chords. So I don't
Oh, sure.
So, there we go.
Yeah. He's on now after Alfred Hitchcock on MeTV.
And then they had that little piano solo that went something like this. See, if I can pick it up by ear. Something like that. You know, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is good to try to figure it out because it's good, when
Yeah.
you pick stuff out by ear.
Sure.
There is a trick to it, like I mentioned it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, they
yeah.
show Mannix on at
Mannix.
1 o'clock in the morning, and then
Mhm.
Ironside is on right after that.
oh, Raymond Burr's
Yeah.
Ironside, yeah. Did you see the new version of Ironside
I don't
with
think so.
the African American actor? What was his name? Oh, you would know him too. It only lasted about a half a season. It was just like a remake of
Mhm.
Ironside. I can't think of the actor's
Mm.
name. The African American actor played Ironside.
Oh.
It was more like a hip modern version.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it worked.
No, and usually when they do remakes like that, they don't work as well. Because I know they have a new MacGyver, a remake
Yeah,
of
I don't think much of
And
that
the old
either.
MacGyver is still on MeTV, and it's,
Yeah.
it was kind of cheesy in spots, but basically it was pretty
But some
clever.
shows, when they're classics, I think they should be left alone.
They should.
You know?
Now, there's a new show, though, that shows these geniuses called Scorpion.
Oh,
Where
okay.
there's about 5 or 6 people, young people, that are all have IQs of over 160. And one's like good at mechanics, one's like in psychology, one's good at chemistry, and they get into these situations. They work for the government, Homeland Security, and they get in these situations where there's no weapons or anything involved, but there's somebody that's in trouble, and they have to figure out ways to save whatever's going on, and they just come up with these amazing ideas.
Oh, I see.
And it's wonderful because there's no violence, there's no weapons at all, no gunplay and no fighting and all that. It's
And that's
just
Scorpion. No, I've not seen that
yeah,
yet.
Scorpion. It's on CBS on 9 o'clock on Monday
Okay.
night, and it's really, really good. Very well done.
Mhm.
I love it.
Well, let's see. Getting back to what I was saying, yeah, those westerns we were talking
Mhm.
about. There were so many of those westerns I just don't know them
Oh yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And what is it, like early 50s maybe?
Yeah,
Maybe
early
even
50s, late
40s?
50s, early 60s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I know, like Paladin and Rawhide and Wagon Train, and,
Let's see.
all of those were wonderful. I used to watch them. And I like to watch Westerns because of their horses.
I
I
see.
the names of almost everybody's horse, Yeah.
Something like that.
That was Rawhide.
Rawhide, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And they're still on MeTV on Saturdays.
That's what I like about MeTV. They're
Yeah.
showing all
All the old
stuff.
shows,
Mannix,
yeah.
all those shows.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
learn that song.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool piano solo.
What's the show, the cowboy show that Robert Culp had?
Yeah, I just watched that for the first time recently. It was
Yeah,
some
it's on
Arizona
Saturday
something or
morning.
something.
Yeah.
Very early, about 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had never heard of that show.
I hadn't either. I didn't know Robert Culp played a cowboy.
I didn't either. The only reason why I happened to see that was because I couldn't sleep one
Oh,
morning.
yeah.
I just
Got
randomly
it.
turned the television
Right.
on and had forgot that I had it on MeTV
Uh-huh.
from watching Land of the Giants
Right,
and all
right.
of that. And
Yeah.
his show was on.
Yeah.
I was like, Robert Culp, let's
I
check
know,
this out.
yeah,
So-
exactly. And then Paladin's on right after that, and then Maverick's on right after that.
yeah, he plays some sort of a marshal or
Yeah.
some
Yeah, he does.
deputy or something
Yeah.
or another.
Yeah,
And I remember thinking, I'd never seen Robert Culp that young before.
I know. Yeah, he was even younger than I Spy. That was before I Spy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's see if I can figure out I Spy. There it is. Let me do good at it. Yeah.
Amazing.
You know, speaking of I Spy, I don't know if I told you, just last Christmas, the Christmas before, somebody bought me season 2 of I Spy, the entire season
Oh.
2.
Wow.
You know, when that show was really just
Yeah, in its heyday.
taking off. So I have I Spy in my collection DVD. I have the
Wow.
entire second
Great.
season. I was like, this is way cool. I Spy.
I know.
And I popped the DVD in and I was watching it, and I
Yeah.
had forgotten so much.
Yeah.
It was
Well, that
almost
was-
like watching a new show
Well,
again.
that was breakthrough television, you know,
Yeah.
for Bill Cosby to be
Mhm.
on TV was.
Yeah,
you know,
wasn't he the first African American to get a
I
lead role
think
in
so.
I Spy?
I'm not now. I don't know if that was he was the first or Diana. I mean,
Diane Carroll
Diane
was first
Carroll
for
was- for Julia.
television of
Yeah.
that. What sitcom? Did they
Yeah.
put that in the sitcom category?
Yeah, I think
Even
so.
though it had some serious moments.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Brand groundbreaking. Diane
It
Carroll,
was, yeah.
Julia. Her show with something like
Yeah.
this. Let's see. Something like that.
Do you remember that? Oh my goodness.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it just came to mind, so I just happened to remember
Mhm.
it.
Hmm.
And they had some really catchy theme songs on some of
did.
those
That's true.
shows.
That's true. And a lot of them had singing. Do you remember Wagon Train when it was sung?
Yeah, I would be able
And
to sing
also
that. And Rawhide, I think, was singing Frankie Lane.
Frankie Lane sang Rawhide.
A very young
Yeah.
Frankie Lane.
Yeah. And Half Gun Will Travel had a singer too, and a guy singer.
Yeah, I wouldn't know who that is. I don't
Yeah.
know that Western very
I
well.
think it was maybe it was Robin Hood. I'm thinking of Robin Hood.
Here's trivia. Try this one. Try this one here. That's the first part of it.
You got.
Rin Tin Tin.
Oh my God. Oh,
Recognize it now?
Yeah, and I love that dog. Oh,
That's the
yeah.
first part of that, yeah. Rin Tin Tin. I don't know
Buster
if that fits in that
Crab. Oh my
category, yeah.
God,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
But I'll forget this maybe an hour from now, but it's fresh in my mind now that we're
Right,
talking
right,
about
right,
it.
right.
But
Oh my
yeah, there were
goodness.
so many shows from the past that people probably won't even remember.
I know. You know what silly show I liked? F Troop.
Yeah, it went something like this. Let's see if I can pick it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
It needs to be on. That was Forrest Tucker and Ken Berry.
Yeah. Something like
Mhm.
that, yeah. The theme, the F Troop.
I like that show because they showed that the cavalry were as silly as they made the Indians. You know, they were all equally
Yeah.
silly,
Mhm.
which was kind of fun.
You know, speaking of Ken Berry, I did a story on him too, and you know, he was such a great dancer.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know that watching him on F Troop.
True. He was always falling down.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that.
I know, that was great.
And Leonard Nimoy set up his original audition for the
Ah.
Arlene Francis show,
Huh.
because they were both in the Army in real life at that time.
Oh.
And Leonard Nimoy was hosting these Army shows.
Mhm.
Ken Berry went over there and won that thing,
Oh,
took
nice.
first place.
Nice.
And so that's how the whole thing started.
Wow.
And then about a year later, because Leonard Nimoy was the drill sergeant, his
Uh-huh.
actual drill sergeant.
Uh-huh.
And they set up an opportunity for him to go on the Ed Sullivan Show, and he became a hit
Oh, wow.
doing his little dancing.
Nice.
I've got the footage of that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Leonard Nimoy on a Perry Mason one time. He wasn't such a nice guy. I think he was actually the murderer.
He's been a murderer a couple
I
times.
know.
Everybody always thinking of Mr. Spock,
I
you know.
know, yeah.
Good logical guy.
Exactly.
He's played a few killers
Yeah,
on TV.
He has.
He was a murderer on Columbo. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
He was that surgeon that,
Yeah.
and the one top prominent surgeon was having heart surgery,
Mhm.
and they had this.
They sewed him up with the wrong gut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was this material that sewed the heart together. It would
Exactly.
disintegrate, causing
Exactly.
the guy to
Because of
have
the
another heart
right,
attack.
right.
And Columbo
Columbo
figured that
saw
out.
it, yeah.
So when they were put him back in surgery, Columbo's sitting upstairs watching to make sure Nimoy's character does it right.
I love Columbo.
So he does it right, but there was a thing where he tried to hide the
right in his
evidence.
pocket. Yeah, and Columbo caught it.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. Columbo always solves everything.
I like Columbo. I think
love
it's the
Columbo.
best.
Oh, Peter Falk was well loved in Hollywood.
Oh goodness, I just think it's the best crime show of the past.
Yeah, Peter Falk was very well loved in Hollywood.
Yeah.
As just as a person, besides the character.
They said some really wonderful things about him in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that show is just fun to watch.
It is. I just love the way he disarms people by looking like he's so bumbling,
Yeah. Now they have the later versions of Columbo. I don't care for those as much.
Right.
But it's still fun to watch.
Oh,
but
sure.
the original Columbo,
It's
right on.
It's perfect. He looks like he's bumping into things, and he's got the cigar and the rumpled look, the raincoat and everything.
Yeah.
And that's why the criminals let down their guards, because they figure, oh, this guy, what is
Yeah,
he?
speaking of murders, some of the least likely actors have been murderers on Columbo. Dick Van Dyke was a murderer.
Yeah.
William Shatner was a
I
murderer.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Eddie Albert.
That one was Suzanne Plachette.
Yeah.
And he has a relationship with the singer woman. And,
Right, yeah.
because she sees him commit the murder, so he's like smooth talking her, trying to get her to not see what
remember.
she thought she saw
Right,
and not
right.
remember.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, they're all great.
Yeah.
And also the Perry Mason episodes were groundbreaking court dramas. Columbo's great as far as solving the crime itself, but in court, Perry Mason set the standard, I think, as far as photography and cinematography and acting and dialogue. Perry Mason really kind of set the bar.
Speaking of Perry Mason, I happened to see it last night. Did you see it just last night? Betty Davis.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool seeing Betty Davis be
I've seen that one before.
defendant.
She was the attorney.
Yeah,
the defense attorney. Yeah.
And I was on the computer last night, and I just happened to have ETV on, so I wasn't paying attention to Perry Mason at first.
Mm-hmm.
And Betty Davis had that distinctive voice.
Yeah.
And I turned around, it's not Betty Davis. That's Betty
Yeah.
Davis. I'll start watching.
Exactly. There were 4 or 5 episodes where Perry was in the hospital or had a broken arm or something like that, because he actually did
In
have
real
an
life.
injury. Yeah.
Okay.
And they brought in these other actors to take
That
his
would
place.
explain it,
Yeah.
And I noticed he was in the hospital bed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But that was so good to see Betty
yeah.
Davis. That lady could act.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
I
goodness.
know. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Definitely.
It was fun to watch
No
that.
kidding. And that young guy looked a lot like James Dean,
Oh yeah.
the defendant.
The guy that she was defending?
Yeah. I forget his name, but.
I had never seen Betty Davis on that before.
Oh yeah, I'd seen that episode before.
Yeah, time is flying by. 20 minutes have gone by already.
Nice,
Wow.
that's great.
Or
That's
actually 25 minutes already.
All right.
So yeah, we just talk about TV shows that have passed for a bit.
Yeah.
And gosh, I just wish they made shows like that again.
Well, the country was much more innocent in those days, much more naive, and so they didn't have to have all this action and CG effects, and it was just
Yeah,
good
they didn't
acting.
have all this.
They didn't, they didn't
They didn't
need
have
them.
that,
Yeah, I know. They didn't need it, because people were more able to suspend reality and believe what was going on the screen. But I really wish there was not so much violence and so many guns on television. It's just, I don't know. That's why I like shows like Scorpion, because there are no weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But getting back to the past shows like Columbo and so on, even before that, the westerns and all, they were fun shows to watch.
Of course. Oh, absolutely.
They say film footage only lasts about 100 years. I wonder
Oh.
what's going to happen when those master footage starts to deteriorate.
They'll probably digitize them.
And save them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, just a thought.
Yeah, exactly. And I also like the old horror movies, like Svengoolie.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of that. It was like the week before.
Godzilla.
Yeah, with Mothra.
Mothra.
And I looked at a little bit of it, and I remember watching this like, I can't believe I used to watch this when I
I
was
know.
a kid.
It looks so
watched
cheesy now.
Godzilla and
I
Mothra.
know.
And
Yeah,
yikes.
Gamera,
So,
oh yeah. They were Godzilla had Raymond Burr.
That was corny. No, I don't want to sound racist, but that was so corny that all these Japanese officials couldn't figure this out. They got this one white guy from the United States going all the way to Japan.
Yeah.
They helped the officials figure out how to kill Godzilla or whatever. I
Well,
thought
actually,
that was
it
kind
was
of
the
corny.
Japanese scientists that came up with the oxygen destroyer, which was what did it, you know. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Well, minorities have always had a bad rap in movies and television,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And that'll lead up to what we were talking about,
Yeah,
Asians in film. Since
yeah.
we're in Vietnam.
Exactly.
But you're right. I mean, people of color in the early films, like the 1930s and 40s, I believe it was, they always got typecast
Absolutely.
or play these characters that weren't very smart,
Right.
and you know that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's not just African Americans, but Asians and Mexicans were all portrayed to be simple-minded
Yeah.
and silly.
Yeah.
You know, and it's too bad
Mhm.
because there are some amazing actors out there, you know,
I know.
of color. You know, and now when you look at say, Denzel Washington, and,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, good grief.
Yeah. Well,
Morgan
Denzel's got the
Freeman.
look too, so
Yeah, well, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
he has that distinctive voice.
He does.
Morgan Freeman.
He does
so.
James Earl Jones. I mean, there's
Mhm.
so many actors. And Lena Horne, I believe, was a breakthrough actress that
Didn't
finally
she-
got a starring role.
Yeah, 1933, wasn't it?
I think so. I think so.
I can't remember the name of the film, but I think I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but she was also very feisty.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't put anything over on Lena. You know, she would tell you just like it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She was a fantastic performer, but I think she was kind of bittered in a,
Oh,
in
she
a
was.
small
She was
way
very
later
bitter. Right.
life.
Right.
Not
She
because
was.
she's a bad person,
No,
but
just
having
because
gone
of
through the heart
Oh,
of
yeah.
all that bad stuff
Oh,
as
yeah.
a young woman.
Exactly. And then Hattie McDaniels finally won an Oscar for Gone with the Wind
Yeah.
in 1939, which was wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, that was amazing. So, and then, you know, but they portrayed Asians, like the poor Chinese were given such a bad rap. They were only portrayed as coolies and servants, and, you know, they were brought out to
Yeah.
the West to work on the railroads, and they used them to go into the mines and check for gases, and, you know, it was just terrible.
Right.
Terrible. Discriminated against, ostracized, you know.
Well, wasn't the NAACP responsible for putting change?
Absolutely.
I think they, if I remember, I think they went after Hollywood
Yes.
in the early 60s.
Mhm.
Maybe even sooner than that, just to change that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's why we had a proliferation of shows in the 60s
Yeah.
that had a lot of African Americans.
Yeah,
and
like
the
leading up to
70s.
Julia. And all of
Exactly,
that.
and you had the Jeffersons, you had Good Times, you know, Norman Lear was wonderful to
Yeah.
be able to portray.
He was just
that.
being interviewed recently on PBS
Mhm.
about his groundbreaking
Yeah,
shows.
yeah, he had a lot, and I loved them all. Oh, All in the Family was the best.
Let's see if I can figure out
The
Modern Family.
best. Yes. Yep.
Something like
Those
that.
were the days, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the one with Sammy Davis.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially that scene before that picture,
Oh.
and he gives Archie a kiss
Yes.
on the cheek.
Yes. The look on Archie's face was just perfect.
Well,
Perfect.
Carroll O'Connor was the perfect actor, I think,
Yeah,
to play that
he
character. You know, he was
was.
a brilliant actor.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I've
Definitely.
seen his early works, and he was just the right person
Yeah,
for that.
absolutely.
I don't
Absolutely.
think it was a racist bone in
No,
his
no, no,
body
no,
in
no,
real
no.
life.
But the character had to be.
Yeah, I know, and I understood that, so...
Yeah. In fact, all the characters on that show were great because, like, Meathead
Mhm.
was what his son-in-law was the perfect liberal hippie kind of character
Yeah.
to play off of Archie's racism, and Edith was not too bright on this. You know, the character Edith was not too bright, but she was very smart in her own way. You know, and Gloria was his daughter and kind of in between Archie and Meathead. So, you know, and then of course the neighbor George Jefferson.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, they were at butt heads all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was a great show. And then from that we got Maude and who was Archie's cousin, and then we got the Jeffersons, of course, who was the neighbor, and then we had Good Times because Florida was Maud's maid. And they
Yeah,
had
and
their
all
own
those
show.
shows were spin-offs,
Yeah,
even
they were.
Flo.
Yeah, yes.
And so on eventually.
Yeah, it was great. Well, Flo was a spin-off from Alice.
No, not that one. I'm talking about the Jefferson's Maid.
Right.
She had her series too.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then wasn't it Flo or Florence or whatever her name
Florence,
was?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other Flo, Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. That show went something like this. I can't believe you got me trying to put this out by ear. Something like. Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, but yeah, all those shows.
Yeah.
They're just gonna fade into what, television history or
I
memory or
guess.
something.
I guess.
But getting back to the groundbreaking,
Mhm.
yeah. What's his name? Key Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was groundbreaking for Asians in film.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was.
He was. People don't know this. He was the original Kato in the Green Hornet serial.
Before Bruce Lee.
20 years
Yeah.
before Bruce Lee.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I have the entire. How did they do it? They did. It was called serials, and so when the Green Hornet was about to get wiped out, they'd have the words going up. Tune in next week and see how the Green Hornet gets out.
Yeah, they were serials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked up and found the entire
Oh.
13-volume
Wow.
serial, and Key Luke was the original Kato.
Nice.
He wasn't like martial artist like Bruce Lee's version.
Right.
Because he always got in trouble,
Oh.
and the Green Hornet would bail him out too.
Mhm.
It was kind of more evenly balanced.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, because with the Bruce Lee version, you notice the Green Hornet would get out of the way.
Yeah. That's true.
And Bruce Lee would be wiping out all the bad guys.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this Green Hornet serial is 20 years earlier, 1940.
Mm-hmm.
And
Nice.
Gordon Jones was the actor that played
The Green
the
Hornet?
Green Hornet.
Okay.
So the mask, instead of it being the mask like the Lone Ranger, it was like a mask that covered his entire face.
Oh.
Kind of primitive
Yeah.
in comparison.
Yeah.
And the Black Beauty could go like, 200 miles an hour.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So, and it was like a Model T style, more like a 1940s
Oh, okay.
style car.
Yeah.
It had a little slant in the back.
Oh,
and it had a
okay.
sound like a bee. Bzzz. It was driving through the streets.
yeah.
And the bad guys and the cops could not catch the Green Hornet. That car is too fast.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but yeah,
it's
that,
amazing.
people don't realize that was the original Green
Mhm,
Hornet.
mhm.
They still had the Flight of the Bumblebee music.
Oh, okay.
And then 20 years later, it was Van Williams
Uh-huh.
and Bruce Lee.
Right.
And it
But,
was more modernized for
right.
that time in comparison
Well,
to
sure.
1940.
Sure. But Asians have, had a rough time in
Yeah, I
film,
know.
and for a long time, white guys actually played Asian parts.
Yeah, that's what George
Like,
Takei from Star Trek was saying.
Yeah, like
And,
with Charlie Chan, and Mr. Moto. I mean, Peter Lorre played Mr. Moto.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
He's about as Chinese as I am.
Oh, I know. And it's just so sad. And Indians, Tano, Jay Silverheels was really the only one that was a real Indian that played an Indian.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he was a buffoon,
Yeah,
He
I
had
know.
broken English,
Mhm.
and, it's just,
Well, I think the Indian community, Native American community, put a stop to that
yeah.
with Johnny Depp's performance.
They were very pleased with Johnny Depp's portrayal.
Yeah, I heard he
of
got a
Tano.
special award from the Native people
Oh,
for
good.
portraying that.
Good.
And I also had heard that before they released that film, they invited the Indian chiefs
Mhm.
and stuff in real life and showed that film.
Oh, sure, because you
them.
don't want to offend anybody.
And they were
you know?
very highly pleased
Yeah,
with Depp's portrayal.
that's good. That's good.
And I think they couldn't have picked a better person
Yeah,
than Johnny Depp for that.
yeah, no kidding.
But
But I
yeah,
don't-
you're right.
Yeah, I don't
You
know how many Native American actors
another
there
thing
are.
that was tough was, let's see if I can remember. I lost my train of thought, but if I think of it, I'll let you know.
Mhm.
Getting back to people of color,
Mhm.
it was tough for them.
Definitely.
I can't remember what I was going to say, but if it comes back to me, I'll say it.
Okay.
But,
And it's only been here in the United States that's been a problem.
yeah.
Because over the years, many musicians and entertainers have gone overseas and been welcomed like royalty.
Yeah.
You know, Josephine Baker and Miles Davis and,
Yeah.
you know, some of the big band leaders, Count Basie, Duke Ellington.
Mhm.
They go to Germany, France, England,
Yeah.
Denmark, wherever, and they're just wonderful. There's no problem at all.
That's
They
correct.
come back here. Nat Cole came back here after performing overseas and couldn't get a room in the hotel in which he was performing.
Right.
You know, that's just
Well, they were just
boggles
talking about
the
stuff
mind.
like that on PBS just a couple days
Really?
ago. Well, I know it's March 2nd now,
Yeah.
but you know, with the Black History Month,
Right,
they
right.
were covering all
yeah,
that.
it's just so sad. I don't understand what that's about.
Well, you know, I lived overseas when I was a kid, and
Uh-huh.
we never experienced stuff
No.
like that too. You know, I'm glad to be an American, and I'm glad
Mhm.
to live in the U.S. But what I don't like about this country is the racial aspect.
Yeah, it
And
shouldn't
I'm
be
not
there.
trying to get political or sound racist, but it's a fact. I mean,
Yeah, and it shouldn't be there.
we're
People
the
are
greatest
people.
country in the world, the freest country in the world,
Right.
and we have the biggest issue with
Yeah.
race relations
Yeah.
in the United States compared to
Other
most countries.
Yeah, that's true, and it's so
'Cause
sad.
I lived in Asia when I was a kid.
Mhm.
I went to school there.
Yeah,
It was so different.
yeah, I bet.
I loved it. In fact, if I had my whole life to live over again, I would like to stay in Asia all 12
Yeah.
grades.
Yeah.
Really.
I know, it's really sad why people don't, I don't understand why any one person would think that another person, no matter what they look like, was inferior.
I know.
You know, whether they're developmentally handicapped or whether they're of different color, different nationality, different
Yeah.
religion.
Mhm.
Everybody's the same,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, when we do we ought to turn this into a part 2 since you have some time.
I
We're
know.
almost running out of time,
Yeah.
but we're just getting into the heart of this.
Yeah, really.
But I like the United States, but I've always known that for years and years
Mhm.
that this country, as great as it is and as free as it is, has the biggest
Big
issues.
big problem. Nobody
with
understands that there's
race
only one
relations.
race, the human race.
Yeah.
That's it.
Even our new fearless leader said we all bleed the same blood.
Yeah.
He said that in his speech.
I know, surprisingly.
Yeah. So that's all I'm gonna go
I
with
know,
that.
I'm
But
not there.
I'm just
Don't get
saying
me
that
started
was
on that.
interesting to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, but it's true, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
But it's so ingrained in this culture.
Yeah, you know, you're not born racist.
Of course not.
Here's a good example. Let's say a dog, a collie, a Labrador.
Mhm.
That dog's gonna go up and lick you whether you're black, Chinese.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And when
I
you're
know.
born, you're not born that way. You're taught that.
Yeah.
We're taught to be
Yes,
racist.
South Pacific, the musical, had a very
I
great
know, I
song
remember.
about that. You have to be carefully taught.
That's right.
And that's
then
true.
it's hard to snap out of that once
It
once it's
is.
ingrained.
It is because the problem with that is it makes you feel superior to somebody else, which is a very difficult feeling to shake or give up. You don't want to give up that superiority, you know,
I know.
and be just like everybody else. It's
Mhm.
difficult,
That's right.
you know, and especially when you're told that the person you're superior to is less than human, you
Yeah.
know.
And you know, I think I told you the story. In 1985, I got invited to go to Idaho
Mm-hmm.
to play for Martin Luther King.
Right.
And there were actually white people at that time that had never seen an African American person
I believe it.
in 1985.
Yeah.
And so internally, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" You know, because growing up in California,
Yeah.
I had to say to myself, "This is a teachable moment."
Exactly.
Now, if I'd have gone off
Oh no.
and got stupid,
No.
then they would assume the stereotype
That
of white
everybody's
people are
like
bad,
that.
you know.
Yeah.
So I used it as a teachable moment.
Sure.
I was very respectful, polite, and I
Of
played,
course.
and I did all the appropriate songs.
Mhm.
And these white people were in the audience that had never seen an African American person, and
Yeah.
it was a hit.
Sure.
They came
Of
up to me
course.
later. They talked to me, and
Yeah.
it was almost like we'd been friends for years.
Of course, yeah, like I've been accepted here at my job and, you
Yeah.
know, and outside, you know, and it took a while for that to happen, but
Yeah.
people realize that I'm just a person.
And you know, Missoula, this community as a whole has been, well, maybe because I'm a pianist,
Mhm.
has been good to me.
Mhm. Yeah,
But I'm not unmindful that even in a small city like Missoula, there's some racial
there
issues.
definitely are.
But it's just
Definitely
not as bad in comparison
Right.
to some places
are. Of course,
that I've
oh
been.
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I grew up in California too, and
So
it was,
yeah, and
you
white
know,
people sometimes have, they can't process that because they can't relate to that
Yeah.
because they're not walking those shoes, you
Right,
know.
yeah.
They're not colored.
That's true.
As the old saying
I
goes.
know.
I hate that term, colored.
I know.
Yikes. Hispanics.
I know.
Let me rephrase that. They're not African American.
Yeah,
you know.
really. But yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult. And I must say that a lot of the inner city gang activity isn't helping that very much.
I know.
You know, I wish our brothers and sisters would get smart and realize that they need to contribute and not tear down. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Night and day.
Night and day. Appropriate song?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I always think it's a nocturne every time I hear this.
You know, I always also
I'm gonna stop
agree.
right there.
I also agree that America has the potential to be the most amazing country ever.
Yeah, if they can get past the racial
Just
aspect.
have to get past the us and them
Yeah.
idea, whether it's.
I mean, you
racial
see it
or
with
class.
interracial couples to this day.
Oh yeah.
You know, my sister's married to a white
Mhm.
person, and they've been married for over 20 years.
Mhm.
And my sister was telling me about the struggles that they had when they first married with his
Mhm.
family. And then they were afraid of how my birth mom was going to react. So they didn't tell my birth mother that they were married for the
Mhm.
first 5 years of their
Oh
marriage.
wow.
They waited till the granddaughter was born.
Oh,
Then when
yeah.
they slapped the grandchild on my birth
yes.
mom,
Yeah.
and she took a look at this baby, it was like all that
Oh, goes away.
was gone.
Yeah,
But
of
that's
course.
rare because that doesn't happen.
I know.
And that can backfire
It can.
really.
It can.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first husband was Hispanic, and my mother was not too happy about it.
Yeah.
But when my son was born, you know.
It's just like when I was married the second time.
Mhm.
You know, I've been married twice,
Mhm.
and the family of the second wife just was not happy
Yeah.
with that interracial mix.
I know.
And I'm not going to mention names or anything,
Right.
but you could tell.
Yeah.
I was like the nicest guy
Oh,
prior to getting
sure.
married. When we got married, it just changed.
Oh dear. And it's so sad because any children that comes from a marriage, an interracial marriage, are gorgeous.
But you
They're
know,
beautiful.
after a year and a half, I let her go.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, that's a lot of
because the
stress.
pressure was
Yeah.
on her
So,
with
yeah.
her family
Yeah.
and the world she came from.
That's a lot of stress.
And I wrote about that in my autobiography
Yeah,
too, so
yeah.
I let her go.
Yeah, and it's really a shame. You know, I'm fortunate I have two beautiful children, you know, a son and a daughter. And I really think that it strengthens the gene pool for all of
But
us.
yeah, we were only married a year and a half, so but those things happen.
Yeah.
But if I were to ever get into an interracial relationship or marriage,
Mhm.
this time I would make sure that this person I marry is going to be strong enough to withstand not only family but forces
Oh,
of people that
and
might
be
be
their own
opposed to
person.
it.
Yeah.
They have to
have their own mind.
get a rhinoceros high. You know?
Right.
That's the way to describe
Well,
it.
hopefully, if it happens, you won't be subjected to that anymore. You know, maybe.
Well, probably not so much in 2017, but we're
Yeah.
talking, this was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in 10 years.
That's true.
A lot can happen.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, PBS has been talking about Black History all month
Mhm.
and how African American people and other people of color, whether it's Hollywood or whatever, just
Mhm.
had such a tough
Oh
time.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Musicians,
it wasn't
singers,
just-
families, children,
Exactly.
neighborhoods, you know.
Yeah, and it was athletes as well.
Yeah, I know.
You know, because
They were talking about Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Look at the stuff that guy went through. Man, you
Oh.
would think that these people say, hey, we got a good baseball player here. We better jump on this.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, because they didn't want him to be equal to them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how dare he be equal or better than the other
There were a
players
lot of
were.
white. They were saying he had to shower separately.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he led the Dodgers to like
World champions.
world championships and
Yep.
it's just
Which
awful
is why I
that.
love my Dodgers. You know.
Yeah, I know. I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. I guess what I'm saying is this shouldn't be
Of course
this
not. Of course not.
racial
I know. Well, they had-
animosity or tension or
teams
whatever.
had the same problem when they had the first Asian ball player. You know.
Yeah.
You know, same kind of, not as bad, but still it was there. And he was one of the greatest pitchers. I'm talking about Hideo Nomo.
Yeah.
One of the greatest pitchers that they've ever had.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why don't people see people from the inside out instead of the other way
Right.
around?
Yeah, no kidding.
You know?
Well, I've had my share of
Yeah, I've
people
had my
attacking
share.
me
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
this too
Me too.
in my
Me too.
lifetime.
Yeah.
Believe me when I tell you that.
Yeah.
I've been called the famous
Oh,
N-word
yes.
and all of that.
Yep. Exactly.
And I think this country's come a long ways, but we
It
still
has.
got a long way to
We
go.
do. We really do.
And I
But
think
it
if
has
white
come a
people
long way.
realize that, it will help them to understand all the other nationalities of the world.
Exactly, and it doesn't
get
take
together.
away from them to
Of course
give
not.
to us or to give to another minority. Just because you share your space or your job or whatever with a
Right.
person of color doesn't
That's
take
right.
anything away from you. You're still the
Mhm.
same person you always were.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, one of the reasons why I never wanted to have children, because I didn't want to bring children into this racial aspect of
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah, it's really, really hard for minorities
I know it.
of all kinds. And look what's happening with Muslims now. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so sad.
It's no different than probably the Japanese in World
The
War II.
Japanese were interred. When I heard that, I could not believe that my country would actually do something like that.
Yeah.
Like something that Hitler would do. That
Yikes.
my country would do the same thing. You know, it broke my heart.
Mhm.
Broke my heart. When
Well, do you feel like to doing part two and continue this discussion?
I suppose we could do that.
All we have to do is just change the tape here. Let
Okay.
me make some acknowledgments here. This is Asaph Cafe, and normally it's comical, but we're in Ho Chi Minh City, so we're going to talk some serious stuff. And all I'm going to do is just shut this program down, pop in another tape, and we can start part two and pick up where we left
Okay.
off.
Sounds good.
We got about 5 minutes left, so I'll make those
Okay.
acknowledgments now.
Okay.
And this is good talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
This will have to do since our original
I
topic.
know. Yeah, that's fine. That's
But
fine.
yeah, I don't care what color a person is. It don't
No.
matter to me.
No. It's their character, not their color, that matters.
But I think when people in the United States realize that and get past that color thing,
Mm-hmm.
like Star Trek,
Oh, yeah.
everybody's all
That's
like,
one-
what?
Yeah, that's why I love Star Trek, because
Yeah,
it's
like
just,
you get an airtime,
I
and it's
know.
like
Could be
there's green
Klingons
people,
and-
people with ears and
Yeah,
horns or whatever. They
sure.
don't care.
I know. I mean, look at Worf and married,
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
in Deep Space Nine. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
married to
One of
the
the
white
counselors.
girl, the counselor,
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
Jadzia, I think was her name.
Yeah.
And she had a little symbiont character,
Yeah.
9 Lives or whatever.
Sure, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
racial
was great
couple.
about Star Trek. We were hoping that by now things would be like that.
Yeah.
It's slowly getting there.
Yeah, I know. So I'm not trying to pick on no one race in the
No,
world. It's
no.
just truth is truth.
Yeah, exactly. And there's good and bad
In
in
every-
every single race.
And we can talk about that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Black on black crime.
Oh, sure.
And I'm proud to be an African American person.
Mhm.
But sometimes I think African American people use what happened to them in the past as an excuse for their behavior.
I think so too. And
I've
it's very
seen
sad.
that too.
Yeah.
You know,
And
the other
whites do the
side
same
of that.
thing.
Yeah.
Whites look upon the way blacks were then and think that that's the way we should still be,
Yeah. Just stuff like that.
Yeah, that
but
happens.
only in America.
I
This
know.
is the only country where anything goes.
That's true. And it's the only country where we can freely talk about it too.
That's right, because
Yeah.
you can't go to the Philippines, even Ho Chi Minh City, where we're at.
Right.
Talk about that without
It's done nothing against
having
the
the government knocking on your door. ASAP.
I know.
We could cancel your cafe.
True.
You know.
True. In Russia, it's the same
Yeah.
way, we'd have a big problem. Saudi Arabia probably, So we're very fortunate to have the freedom to be able to do this.
Well, my
kind of
final
show.
words for this part here, part one.
Mhm.
Whatever a person's religious beliefs are, the New Testament does say, how can you say you love God who you have not seen and hate your brother who you have seen? Think about that.
Good question.
Because God could be like this big eyeball, like
I
that
know.
Charlton Heston cartoon. Did you see that?
No.
It was this, when Heston was always doing these series of cartoons,
Yeah.
and they were portraying the Garden of Eden, and God was like this big giant
Oh,
eyeball in
wow.
the sky.
Uh-huh.
And whoever the cartoonist was could make the eyeball angry, or
Oh.
it was pretty cool, pretty believable.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know God's not a big giant eyeball. That's a depiction. But the point is, if you don't know what God looks like, and you can't say you love someone you haven't seen, and then there's like a zillion people all looking
Mhm.
like you that you can't stand.
Yeah. That's true.
That's good food for thought.
Yeah, I've heard the comment, how can you hate me if you don't know me?
That's
You
right.
know?
Even Shrek said that.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
judging him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And on that note, let's sign out here and take a few minutes
Okay.
break, and we continue. This is Asaph Cafe. I'm with the lovely Luis Bundy, and we're just talking. Well, what is it? Not politics. I don't like politics.
No, it's
This
not
is just
politics.
life, you know.
Yeah, talking about different aspects
Of
life in
yes.
America.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I still got we got a couple other things to touch on the next show.
Sure.
So until our next show for part 2, Maranatha. We'll just relax, make yourself at home, and we'll switch tastes and we'll continue.
Okay. What time is it?
It's